Coming up next, Israel continues to pound Gaza with airstrikes, while here in Pennsylvania, Jews talk about the suffering on both sides.
There's horrors going on in Gaza as well, and it's sad for the Palestinian people.
Plus, Penn State's fight for hundreds of millions of dollars in Penn State funding.
And a major makeover for a local baseball stadium. The Center County Report starts now. Good afternoon, I'm Courtney McGinley. Thanks for joining us today for the Center County Report.
And I'm Jaso Bardo. Our top story, the latest on the Israel-Hamas war and the impact back here at home. Here's the latest. Israel bombarded the Gaza Strip today, hitting areas including those where Palestinians had been told to evacuate. An expected ground invasion has not yet started. More than 1 million people have been displaced in Gaza since Israel began the bombing in response to a Hamas terror attack. The UN is also calling for countries to work together to ensure humanitarian aid reaches people in Gaza. Today, President Biden is making what he calls an urgent budget request to Congress for $100 billion for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Biden addressed the nation in a primetime speech last night, taking aim at Hamas and its tactics.
Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields, and innocent Palestinian families are suffering greatly because of them.
Today marks the 13th day of the Israel-Hamas war. I talked with members of the Center County Jewish community about their fears as they watch what's happening. With images of war on our TVs and phones every day, Rabbi Hershey Guerreri says it's difficult to take.
The whole world's very shooken up seeing the face of evil, burning children, beheading children, killing and maiming close to 1,000 Jews just for being Jewish.
He's co-director at Chabad of Penn State.
You don't have to be a genius to be against violent rape. You don't have to be a genius to be against abducting 7-month-old babies or, 85-year-old grandmothers or whatever. That doesn't take a genius or any moral bravery. And it's just realizing that silence is complacency.
Penn State Jewish organizations like Chabad and Hillel are working together to support the Jewish community during this worldwide crisis.
I have family, I have friends there. I lived in Israel for a year. It's a home away from home, and it's heartbreaking to see what's happening.
I know people in the defense force who are fighting right now. I know people who, one of my friends who's been to America, spent a year with him, his friend was actually kidnapped, and they have not heard from him.
The two groups held a vigil recently at Penn State.
The amount of hugs that were going around and the singing together and the mourning together and crying together was very, very important to many students.
Jewish student Justin Tannenbaum says Palestinians are also suffering.
There's horrors going on in Gaza as well, and it's sad for the Palestinian people.
More events are in the works, including Shabbat Friday night dinner to honor the dead in Israel and to remember the victims in the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting 5 years ago this month.
When a Jew dies, it affects the whole community.
Chabad of Penn State has raised more than $8,000 for Israeli victims and soldiers who need medical supplies.
In Washington, there's breaking news this afternoon. Another House Speaker vote is underway. Republican Speaker nominee and Representative Jim Jordan continues to fight to become the next Speaker of the House. It's the third time they're voting on Jordan for that position. That's after previous Speaker Kevin McCarthy was voted out of the job. For more than 2 weeks, the stalemate has shut down the U.S. House.
Johnson of Georgia.
At Pennsylvania's Capitol, the months-long budget fight drags on. It's been an uphill battle for Penn State and other state-related universities, with approval of their budget requests still unresolved. Penn State University is asking for a combined $483 million in total appropriations for this and next fiscal year. That's an increase of over $100 million more than the previous year. But with an ongoing budget stalemate in Harrisburg, the university still hasn't seen any money. Penn State says its request comes down to fairness.
Right now, Penn State students receive around $5,000 per student from the state, while students from our public university counterparts like Pitt, Temple, Lincoln, the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education receive somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 per student.
Nearly 4 months into the fiscal year without any appropriations, Moore warns of the negative impacts.
We will struggle to operate, and there will be consequences to our employees and possibly to our students in the future that aren't positive.
Students are also getting in on the action and advocating on behalf of themselves. Lion Caucus is a student organization that promotes the influence and impact of Penn State to lawmakers.
It's one thing to hear from university staff. It's entirely different hearing from Penn State students themselves how important it is to support the university and support Penn State students.
The university has actually made it super simple for anyone to become an advocate, no matter where you are, and it all starts with a simple Google search.
Type advocate.psu.edu into your browser, and this form will populate where you can answer a few simple questions. This will generate an automated email to be sent directly to your local Pennsylvania legislator, explaining to them why they should vote to support Penn State's appropriations request. But passing the budget request requires support from both sides of the aisle, and for the most part, Republicans are the ones holding out, citing concerns about accountability and issues with research the university has done in the past. But Scordo hopes lawmakers will see the lasting impact the funds will have on the Commonwealth.
Investing in Penn State is also investing in the future of Pennsylvania.
Some progress has been made, though. The House passed a bill that created a grant program for institutions of higher education. A second bill would then allocate millions of dollars to the grant program. The bill has been sent to the Senate.
A Penn State student faces criminal charges accused of trying to pose as a federal agent. Authorities say Renzi Liu pretended to be calling from the Federal Reserve, telling a couple they needed to withdraw all of their money. Police in Lycoming County say that they asked the couple for Liu's identification and he failed to show any. He's now out of jail on $20,000 bail.
A 64-year-old woman is in critical condition at UPMC Altoona after being hit by a car in Ferguson Township. She was walking near a bike crossing along Science Park Road on Tuesday when an SUV hit her. It's the third time in a month that a pedestrian has been killed or seriously hurt in the State College area.
State College police are asking for the public's help to identify two men from two separate cases. They say this man allegedly assaulted a Champs staff member on October 8th in State College. And police say this man committed a retail theft at a State College department store. If you can help identify these men, you're asked to contact State College police. And there's new information on the convicted killer who escaped from PA prison in August. According to an email made last week, a prison guard had warned Devonte Convocante was planning an escape at least a month before it happened. He was captured after a 2-week-long manhunt.
In a story that made national headlines for years, Jordan Vandersloot has finally confessed to the murder of Natalie Holloway, the 18-year-old who vanished during a trip to Aruba in 2005. He admitted to killing her with a cinder block and dragging her into the ocean after she refused his sexual advances. Vandersloot has been sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Conservative commentator Alex Stein is returning to Penn State on Monday to speak at the Bryce Jordan Center. Stein's event last year at the university was canceled due to threats of escalating violence. The university has not shared specific security plans for this time, but says tickets are required to attend this event.
Another restaurant will soon reopen in downtown State College. Bellefonte-based Pizza Mia is looking to return to State College next year. After having to relocate because of construction, the pizza place will open on the corner of Hetzel Street and East College Avenue. Also downtown, Canyon Pizza and Wings says it was served with an eviction notice this week. The notice claims the restaurant hasn't paid rent since June. The company will be required to pay over $15,000 by today, or the landlord will begin the eviction process. It's unclear if the restaurant will stay open.
Still to come on the Center County Report, rain is here again, just in time for the weekend. We check the forecast to see how long it is going to stick around.
And Penn State football's biggest game of the year so far. We have a preview. Also coming up, a local sports complex gets a huge renovation. More on what's happening after the break. Penn State's Beta Theta Pi fraternity house can now be purchased by the university after state appeals court ruled in its favor. The property has not housed an active chapter since 19-year-old student Timothy Piazza died from hazing after going to party there in 2017. A 1928 deed allows the university to reacquire the property if it's not actively used by a fraternity.
A Penn State policy change means faculty and staff will soon have up to 80 hours of sick leave. The university has increased the sick leave benefit by 40 hours for next year. Penn State says it's a part of the commitment to improve the quality of life for both employees and families. The change begins on January 1st.
Penn State has announced its architect and construction manager for the upcoming Beaver Stadium renovation project. Architecture company Populous and construction manager Barton Marlowe with AECOM Hunt and Alexander are working together. The full project is estimated to cost up to $700 million, with construction lasting until 2027. And Medler Field is also undergoing a major renovation project. Reporter Savannah Wood is there live. Savannah?
Jace, this stadium is home to both Penn State baseball and the State College Spikes. It's been around for 17 years. Now it gets a big facelift for the next season and beyond. Big changes are coming to Medler Field next season. Renovations are underway to improve everything from the field itself to parts of the stadium rarely seen by anyone but staff and players. It's been 17 years since the last makeover. Penn State baseball players Kyle Hannon and Billy Gerlot are looking forward to enhanced safety measures.
They need it, and it's nice that they're padding the walls because we've had injuries before.
Our center fielder last year, tripped and fell and smashed his head off off the fence, so, had a concussion. So, hopefully that limits that.
Gerlot thinks the new field will help the team as a whole.
Kind of just, as an outfielder, having the mentality to catch anything and knowing that if I'm going to run into the wall, I'm going to be protected.
Not only will these renovations ensure safety for players and increase performance, it'll also improve the fan experience. Many more Dollar Dog nights to come. Some upgrades are aimed at the fans too, including a video board 5 times bigger than the old one and LED field lights for light shows. The State College Spikes president, Scott Walker, says that there are other possibilities beyond baseball too.
If you could imagine, say, like this weekend, Penn State going out to Columbus, how cool would it be to have a few thousand people in here with our concession stands open and the atmosphere that it could be like? It'd be like almost, like a football, like you're at a football game watching on that board.
Brainstorming sessions are underway to talk about movie nights and watch parties in the future. The project is set to wrap up before the Nittany Lions take the field in the spring. Although the university declined to share the budget for the renovations, we do know that tuition money will not be used. Live at Medler Field, I'm Savannah Wood. Back to you.
Thanks, Savannah. It's peak fall foliage season across central Pennsylvania. The State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources says colors are at their peak here in the center region. They're beginning to fade across the northern tier of the state, but southeastern PA is just now approaching its best colors.
A Friday cold front coming our way, bringing us cooler temperatures as well as a wet weekend ahead. Behind me at Beaver Stadium, we're seeing the cloud coverage increase as showers may begin, and the foliage is bright and brilliant for this October day. Current conditions, it's around 54 degrees, calm winds, and rain is on its way, like I've said. From looking at temperatures across the state, we can see the western half of the state is hanging in those mid to upper 50s. However, the eastern part of the state is in these mid 60s. We can see this temperature gradient between State College and Williamsport, almost 6 degrees between the two. And that's just showing where that cold front is pushing across as it makes its way all the way to the east coast of Pennsylvania. Now looking at our radar and satellite, we can see that with those colder temperature gradients, with those sharp temperature gradients, we can also see the precipitation that comes with it. This band of rain showers is heading across the state and will be coming all the way through this weekend, bringing with us some needed precipitation. Zooming out, we can see the system in its whole as it comes across the Great Lakes and Midwestern region. And over the next 24 hours, it'll end up over New England and the Northeast. And with those trailing precipitation showers throughout our weekend, we will be having finally a dry spot come Monday morning. Look, bringing this through our future cast, kind of going the day by day on how it'll affect our plans, we can see that by this afternoon we'll have heavier showers and heavier rainfall. Temperatures still in the mid to upper 50s, but those temperatures will be dropping over the next 12 hours as that cold front has made its way all the way through and cleared out. But clouds will remain dominant. And then finally, by Saturday night and into Sunday, cloud coverage will dissipate, sun will come through, and we'll kind of have the pick of the weekend come Sunday afternoon. So here's our forecast for today. High of 59, morning showers lead to afternoon drops. Morning drops lead to afternoon showers, but as we go into tonight, that rain will persist and remain for the overnight, and come Saturday morning, it'll be windy and it'll be cloudy with gusts of 33 miles per hour and a high of 54 degrees. Putting this in a pretty bow, our 7-day forecast shows the rain on Friday finally clearing out for a beautiful breezy Sunday and nice warm weather for the start to our work week next week, with highs of 57, 63, and 66 on Wednesday.
Thanks, Leah. I don't know if I'm liking this 30-degree weather. I'm not a fan of the cold. However,
I can confirm I'm not a fan of the cold.
Yeah, I'm not either. But that does mean I can bring out my boots.
That's true. And the cooler weather is also perfect for runners. Speaking of runners, the Thon 5K is this weekend, and hundreds of runners are getting ready for Sunday's Penn State Thon 5K. Here's a look at the route. The race will start at the Bryce Jordan Center and end at the intersection of University Drive and Curtin Road. It begins at 11:30 a.m. and raises money for Thon, which helps childhood cancer patients and their families. Now, here's Carlos with sports.
Thanks, Chase. Good luck to everyone running in the Thon 5K this weekend. Well, coming up in sports, Penn State men's and women's basketball teams are changing their home court for one game this year. Find out more. And Penn State football faces its toughest test of the season so far. We'll preview tomorrow's game at Ohio State. I'm Carlos Garcia with sports. Penn State's biggest test of the season is tomorrow as they travel to Columbus to take on the number 3 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Reporter Joey David has our preview.
Growing up only about 2 hours from the Ohio State campus, Medina native Drew Aller returns to his home state for the biggest game of his career so far tomorrow. Penn State heads into this monster matchup with an unbeaten record. Coach James Franklin said this week the team needs to keep taking the season 1 week at a time. And they wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for their preparation in the past weeks.
This is a really important game. Why? Because of how we've handled the previous 6. If we didn't handle the previous 6 the right way, you wouldn't be asking that question.
Aller has yet to commit a turnover this season and has left every game early with a lead. That means, since becoming the starter, Aller hasn't played a full game start to finish. Franklin reiterated his faith in the sophomore quarterback, but also the way the whole squad has been playing.
I do think we're playing really good complementary football, and that's a term that's thrown around a lot, but I think we're probably more complementary and more balanced than we've been in the past.
Although all eyes will be on number 15, it'll take a top team effort to take down Ohio State. Both teams have not been ranked in the top 10 when facing each other since 2019, and Penn State has not won since 2016. In University Park, I'm Joey David for the Center County Report.
Massive playoff implications in that match, but the kickoff is set for noon tomorrow, and you can listen to the game live on Penn State's Comm Radio with our broadcast team in Columbus. Now let's take a look at some of the top matchups in high school football tonight. After being shut out last week, State College travels to Cumberland Valley. The Little Lions are 5-2, while the Eagles improved to 4-4 after a dominant win over Carlisle. And Penns Valley area and the Rams take on Golden Eagles of Tyrone. Both teams are 5-3 and coming off of wins last week. You can catch highlights and much more from these games tonight at 11:30 on After the Whistle. That's on our Belisario Student Media YouTube channel. Penn State basketball will return to its old stomping grounds for one game in February. The Nittany Lions men's team will host Illinois on February 21st in a return to Rec Hall. It'll be the first time there since 2015. For the women's team, the Lady Lions will host Ohio State on February 22nd, and that'll be their first time in the old gym since way back in 1995. Penn State prepares to complete an undefeated regular season against the Wisconsin Badgers this weekend at Jeffrey Field. They kept the streak alive at home against Indiana last night. It was Kate Wiesner who began the scoring with a free kick in the back of the net in the first period. And her teammate Julia Raich ensured the lead with a goal of her own in the second period, sending the Hoosiers home 2-0. The now #1 ranked Nittany Lions are 12-0-4 and wrap up the regular season on Sunday against Wisconsin. Well, it seemed like the Fightin' Phils scored all their runs in Philadelphia as their bats were ice cold in Game 3 in Arizona. After an extremely slow start to last night's game, the D-backs managed to keep the Phillies on their toes all the way to the bottom of the ninth, when the hero Ketel Marte scored a walk-off single to grab Arizona's first NLCS win this season. Philly holds a 2-1 lead as Game 4 kicks off tonight. And the payoff. A very busy weekend for Center County sports fans, and we didn't even mention the Philadelphia Eagles 5-1 going up against the 5-1 Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football, so huge game on Sunday.
I do enjoy seeing all the Philly fans get excited for the Eagles and the Phillies. I'm a Pittsburgh guy.
I'm a
You're a Pittsburgh fan, so hopefully we can get there one day.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Carlos. Coming up next, did you know there's such thing as a candy economy? Well, Pennsylvania ranks high on the list. Find out more when we come back.
This might surprise you, but Pennsylvania has been named the 4th largest candy economy in the United States. A U.S. Census Bureau survey says that we buy the most candy nationwide. Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton are ranked 4th, with Altoona 6th, Lancaster 7th, Reading 9th, and Harrisburg and Carlisle at 10. Sounds like PA will have a very sweet Halloween this year. So Jace, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
I'm not a big candy guy, but frozen peppermint patty.
Oh, I've never had that. I'll have to try it.
Peppermint patty.
I'm more of a sour candy girl. I like Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids are also good.
Well, that's all we have for today's newscast. We hope you'll tune in on Tuesday for our next local news update.
But you can follow us anytime for breaking news on our Center County Report X. And you can see our stories on our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. Have a good afternoon.